since we come from peace. Well, the non-peace is derived from all the belief systems and all the quote-unquote baggage that we are carrying as humanity, and that effectively dictates our own human vibration. Okay? So as I'm saying this, the antidote to that is letting go of the past. Humanity is forging a new path. And forging means creating something new. It also means it's not necessarily easy. In fact, it's not easy. So because humanity is forging this new path, it means that this new path is different than the path we come from. In other words, humanity, it is at its ending and at its new beginning. And we are sort of experiencing the shift from one to the other. And this is a collective shift. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joanna. If this is your first time joining me, thank you so much for being here. For those of you who are returning, thank you so much for giving me your time and your energy. And I hope that I am able to continue give you what you will deem as valuable information. For those of you who are new, my intention is very simple. I believe I was put on this earth in order to help raise humans' consciousness or humanity's consciousness. And in doing so, I am fulfilling my soul's plan and hopefully helping you fulfill your soul's plan. Because if you are listening to this, part of your soul's plan is to be here to experience life to the fullest in a human body. But in doing so, you are here also to help raise Mother Gaia's vibration. And because Mother Gaia is our host, she shares her energy with us and we share our energy with her. Who we are and what we are being will affect planet Earth, and planet Earth wants to ascend, it wants to vibrate higher. And we are effectively, you and I, here to help her raise her own vibration. In other words, in simpler terms, my job is here to help and assist Mother Earth in her ascension, and us being part of her, we are in the process of ascension as well. So my purpose, if you will, is to help humanity shift their vibration. And I do this by being a channel to higher wisdom, to higher consciousness that has the ability to show us and give us guidance in terms of what to do and how to do it in order to raise Gaia's vibration. And if you are here listening to this, you're familiar with the idea of channeling. Channeling generally means that we channel something that is outside of us, but that's actually nonsensical, because whatever it is that I am channeling as a channel, for example, is actually coming from within me, not outside of me. So we are all channelers. Some of us are born with a more developed channel, so more frequencies can come through, and some people are developed are born with an underdeveloped channel. And the more developed the channel is, the more higher frequency can pour through each and every individual. And of course, as this higher frequency anchors in our bodies, it effectively affects planet Earth. So we are all channels. You are a channel. You are effectively a channel of energy. You are a channel of consciousness. You are consciousness itself. And you are channeling this consciousness through the corporal body in order to have your experience, which you call life. So our life and the quality of our life will depend on how we choose to live our life. And how we choose to live our life is under our control, but most people do not feel that they are in control of their own life, or maybe they are not in control of their own life. Maybe it's because they're used to giving up this control to somebody else. So I'm just going to talk about the sneak peek of year 2024, and we'll see how that message that I just channeled is going to coincide with what I have next. So as I said, this is going to be a sneak peek for 2024, both collectively, and I have 3 individual piles, which will represent the most likelihood of what you might experience in 2024. I'm almost done, almost finishing the 2024 astrological signs survival guide, which I am about to release at some point in December. So there's a lot of information there for each individual sign. If you are drawn to having this information, there will be a link once they're released. I'm hoping they will all be done by middle 3rd week of December. And for those of you who have signed up for my Black Friday promo, you will receive those obviously at no charge. So those channelings will be a little bit more precise for each zodiac sign, but what I'm going to talk about here is likely going to also be part of your journey going forward in 2024. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But let's start first with a collective message. If you're here, you probably already know that we are moving more as a collective towards unity. If we are moving more towards unity, which is the opposite of separation, means that we are not in unity right now. It's like an equation. If we are not in unity right now, we must be in discord. We must be in separation. And the more separate we feel on the inside, the more separation we will experience on the outside. And separation is really an illusion, because it's a concept that is strictly and purely tied to being a 3D human being. We are all part of cosmos. You and I and everything and everyone is energy. Energy has no beginning and no end. It is everywhere within everything. Therefore, there is no separation. So you as a being is not separate from all that is. It is only that our individual I or individual ego makes us feel and believe that we are separate. And when we are separate, the very idea of separation stems from the fact that we, in order to see ourselves as separate, we have to recognize some differences. Because if everything is the same, if everyone is the same, then that's more unified field. So if we are focusing on our differences, we are focusing on our separateness, and that is not uniting, that is dividing. Humanity has been perpetuating this pattern over many, many, many years, and you and I are here to help create greater unity within this world. Now, when you think of the idea of unity, the first thing that comes to me, Joanna, is the idea of love. On the other hand, separateness or separation to me coincides with fear. I don't know rationally why. This is just how I feel it energetically. And if you're a human being, you understand the idea of fear. Every single human being has a certain level of fear. To the degree of which one holds on to fear is to the degree that they will experience unity or love or lack of. And there's a certain amount of fear that is required in order to preserve our physical body. It is purely for survival. But beyond that, there is an upper feel for experiencing anything that we want. The problem with humanity is, if I can call it that, because from a higher perspective, there is no such thing as a problem. It's all an experience. But to bring it down to more of a 3D level, the higher we vibrate, the more united we will feel, because naturally the higher up we go, if you will, in vibration, the more we are in a field of unity. But in order to experience unity, we have to look at our inner truths. What is truth? What is my truth? What is your truth? What does truth really mean? Now that's an interesting question. What does truth really mean? The answer I get is, truth is what is. So when we focus on what is, I guess we are focusing on our truth, or we deem it as truth. But what isn't always the truth. It is often a perceived truth that is clouded by humans' thinking and belief systems. Part of the reason why we as humans live so much in fear is because of the types of thoughts and ideas we are holding on to. And these thoughts and ideas are mostly based in the sense of scarcity. We are afraid of not being more. We are afraid of not having more. We are afraid of not being able to. We are afraid. Why are we so afraid? Well, according to my team, we were taught to be afraid from a very young age. One of the very first fears is fear of dying, although we are born with two fears, so is my understanding, fear of falling and fear of loud noises. Those are the types of fears we want to hold on to, because those fears save our physical lives. But there is more to your experience as a human than just your physicality. You have emotions, you have mind, you have thoughts. Those are all things you cannot touch. And when we focus on our physicality only, we are not fully experiencing and therefore expressing life to the fullest. We human beings are very much fixated on the physicality. There's nothing wrong with that, but you are not just a physical human. We are not just a physical human. We are embodied spirit, energy, force, whatever you want to call it. And whatever you deem yourself to be is tied directly to your thinking, and your thinking is tied directly to what you believe. What we believe about ourselves, mostly as humans, is not what is. What is something much bigger than what we are understanding things as being. Therefore, you might individually understand yourself as a single being, and based on that perception, you will experience life in this world. So if we are holding on to thoughts of scarcity, we will experience perpetually the idea of scarcity, because if something is within you, if there is a belief that says the world is a scarce place, we cannot experience anything other than what we believe, because what is must be. If there is a scarcity, there is scarcity. You will not experience abundance. So why is this being talked about? In terms of abundance, I want to use the word wholeness. Imagine for a moment that you wake up tomorrow and you feel absolutely whole within yourself. In other words, it's almost like you don't need a thing. You don't need to be better at anything. You don't need to be more good looking. You don't need to be thinner. You don't need to be younger. You don't need to be more satisfied. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and simply being proud and okay with who you are being in the moment. In other words, there's no battle going on. And as I'm tuning into that idea, it's a strange feeling, because the moment I tune to that feeling, there's a part of me, my ego side, that says, what do I need to do? The ego is used to doing things. That's how it derives its value. But you as a being are already of value in fact, it's very difficult to assign a value to you as a being because you have no edges. You cannot be confined, and in order to attach value to something, it's almost like it has to be confined. In other words, your idea about you as value, you who you are, is beyond the idea of value. It cannot be explained. It cannot be explained. But getting back to the more 3D version, imagine tomorrow morning you wake up and you don't need anything. Of course you need food and shelter, water. Yes, those are the things the body needs to survive. But beyond that, emotionally, mentally, we don't need anything, and you are totally and utterly at peace. What would you do? Would you like to be that way? Maybe being at peace all the time is boring. Well, in fact, this is the reason why humans are here, because not that feeling peace is boring, it's that when you are in experience of great love all the time, you naturally desire a different experience, a new experience. So we humans come into this world wearing our 3D suits or human bodies, and we are experiencing often things that are the opposite of peace. And we believe that's what is. No, that's what is within you, within us. That's what is inside of ourselves. So if we cannot experience peace in the world, that means we are not experiencing peace within ourselves. The question is, why not? Since we come from peace. Well, the non-peace is derived from all the belief systems and all the quote-unquote baggage that we are carrying as humanity, and that effectively dictates our own human vibration. Okay? So as I'm saying this, the antidote to that is letting go of the past. Humanity is forging a new path. And forging means creating something new. It also means it's not necessarily easy. In fact, it's not easy. So because humanity is forging this new path, it means that this new path is different than the path we come from. In other words, humanity, it is at its ending and at its new beginning. And we are sort of experiencing the shift from one to the other. And this is a collective shift, and being part of the collective, you will naturally be going through your own shift. In fact, you know you are going through this shift, and that's why you're listening to this type of material. So where is humanity at right now? Well, we are at odds with ourselves. And that's very evident by looking at the world and what is happening in the world. The whole world seems to be at odds with itself. Why are we at odds with ourselves? Well, first we have to ask the question, why are we at odds within ourselves? Why are we at odds within ourselves? What are we not in agreement of within our own selves? Because if we are not in agreement of what is within ourselves, we are effectively pushing that part of us away, thus creating more separation. So humanity at large is in a space where its focus has been mostly on the outside and not nearly as much on the inside. In other words, we are outwardly focused. We are focusing on the outside, and we are focusing on doing to make us feel a certain way, to bring us a certain level of comfort. Well, the reality is that comfort comes from within you. It's something that is happening inside of you. It's not outside of you. When you are sitting in a beautiful car, you are feeling it inside of your body, not on the outside. But you don't need to have a beautiful car to feel good. It helps, but it doesn't fundamentally change who you are on the inside. So the point being is that humanity has been focusing largely on the outside to create world, I want to say based on peace, but I'm sorry. Peace is not happening on the outside. So if we are focusing on the outside and we are creating based on that, we are creating based on not having peace or not being at peace, precisely the point. If we are not at peace with ourselves, we will absolutely be experiencing non-peace in the world. And every single individual needs to find their own reason why they are not at peace and why they are at odds. So this is where humanity is right now. If you're listening to this, you are one of those people who is a pioneer and is looking at ways to experience your life to the fullest by expressing what is true to you that isn't necessarily in accordance with what is true to somebody else. In other words, we are learning. We are in the process we're in the process of learning how to be true to ourselves. But what does it mean to be true to yourself? Well, first and foremost, we have to know what is true. Not what is true out there on the outside, what is true on the inside. What is true for me? What does true mean to you? So humanity is looking at what is truth. What is the real truth? What is manufactured truth? What is truth? It's a big, big subject. We have to look at our priorities. What does that mean? Well, for example, when outside becomes the priority, then the inside must be put aside. On the other hand, we create our world from the inside. So if we put our focus and our priorities on the outside, ignoring the very part of ourselves that is creative force, then we are focusing on the wrong thing, aren't we? We are focusing on the wrong thing, trying to create something that we want. Our creative process is always internal. We create on the inside and we reflect that on the outside. Okay? So always remember that creative process is internal. Creative process is internally focused and then it's expressed. Humanity is on the verge of learning how to express itself from a different standpoint, from a different perspective. But first it has to look at its current perspectives. Humanity needs to ask itself at large, what is my perspective? What is my perspective in terms of scarcity? What is my perspective in terms of fear? What is my perspective in terms of quote unquote God? What is my perspective in terms of creativity? What is my perspective regarding humanity? We are all in the process of looking what our current perspectives are. Because perspectives is where we create from. Perspective is like a blueprint. If we have a certain perspective on something, that is our blueprint of creating the world. So if our perspective of the world is not safe, we will be creating from that space of unsafety. In other words, we will be recreating more unsafety in the world. We're not going to be doing that consciously, but that's how creation works. Creation happens on the inside. And then collectively we create and we experience that creation as our outside 3D world. So you as an individual are likely also going to be looking at your source of your own creativity. What is the source of your creativity? If your source of creativity is scarcity, well, then you will be creating from a scarce space. If the humanities perspective is fear, then we will be creating from that space of fear. We cannot create something we want without looking at what we are creating. That is what we don't want. If we are collectively creating something that we don't want, we have to understand the reasons behind it. Why are we creating what we don't want? That requires us to be conscious. Very conscious, in fact. So becoming conscious is a big, big deal because it allows us globally, collectively, and individually to change the path, to change the trajectory in terms of how humanity will live, years and years and years from now. We are essentially in the process of treading new path, and that's not an easy task. If you are listening to this, you're also likely a visionary, which means you have a certain vision of yourself, of the world. And it's important to have a vision. Again, vision is like a destination. If you go on holidays and you pack and you're ready to go, but you have no destination, well, then you're not going to get there because you don't know how. You don't know what steps to take. So we need to understand first where we are going, where we want to go, and where we currently are in order to understand the steps we need to take in order to get us to where we are going. And that requires us to know ourselves. Because the question, where are we, is not only on a physical level, it's where are we on the inside? Where am I? Who am I? Who are we? Who are we being? What are we expressing? If we are expressing a lot of anger, then perhaps we are holding on to anger. We are being that anger on the inside. Now, I'm not saying that you're an angry person, but anger is a very, very normal part of human experience. It's neither good nor bad. It simply is. It's like love. It's neither good nor bad. Both feel very different because they're different vibration, but in terms of hierarchy, there is none. Okay? Obviously, we all want to feel good. If we are not feeling good, we have to understand, why are we not feeling good? What's going on? If you don't feel good in your body, you have to ask the question, why? Why don't I feel good in your body? Because you're designed to feel good in your body. Perhaps you have some fears around body. Perhaps your body is something that you are not happy with. I mean, there's millions of reasons. So when I take it on a collective level, I want to say we are learning how to be ourselves a lot more by understanding where we're coming from, and that what we are experiencing collectively is a collective input or output of each individual. And I've said this before, in order for our world to change, we each individually and collectively have to change our inner world. Well, we don't have to do anything, but we're wanting to, apparently. And Mother Earth is providing the perfect conditions for that because she's rising in her vibration. So to experience, to help us avoid further problems down the road, we have to be able to learn how to look at things from a higher vibration, from a higher perspective. And this is why I do what I do, and this is why you are here, and collectively we are all trying to create a better world. So this is going to be basically this is the theme for 2024. It's very broad, but it makes perfect sense to me. We need to realize certain truths in order to expand our consciousness, and in order to also embody a higher consciousness. We can be somewhat aware, but if we are not practicing this awareness, then we might as well not be aware. For what? Okay, practicing what we're preaching. For those of us who are here to do this quote-unquote spiritual work, it's important for us to embody that, not to just talk about it, not to just say, hey, I am spiritual. Embody whatever that spiritual means to us. In other words, we're all spiritual beings. There is no question about it. If you are here, you already know that. But calling yourself spiritual and actually embodying your spirituality are two different things. And I'm asking, okay, what is a person that is spiritual? And what I'm getting from my team is it's a person that's highly aware. But if you are not aware, you're also a spiritual being. What they're saying is that when we think of the idea of a highly spiritual person, we are basically referring to someone who is quite self-aware and just quite aware. That person has higher level of consciousness or is embodying higher level of consciousness. Does that mean that those who don't are not spiritual? Yes, they are. They're just not aligned with their spiritual self, which is essentially saying they're not aligned with their spirit. And from what I'm seeing, majority of humanity is not aligned with their spirit. People say they are spiritual, but they're not actually aligned with their spirit. If more humans were aligned with their spirit, where spirit is all about love, we would not be experiencing all the chaos and all the treachery that we are experiencing in the world. If we are more spirit-aligned human beings, we will not be experiencing what we are experiencing. It's just a fact. It's because we are more ego aligned. We are more aligned with our ego, and we create purely from the space of our ego. And there's nothing wrong with that, but ego is basically just a set of conditioning. So if ego is just set of conditionings, then ego is basically creating from a very conditioned and therefore limited space. So the more connected to our spirit we are, the more likely we are to create more within the spirit realm than just the physical realm. What does that mean? We experience life more to the fullest. We are not as preoccupied with scarcity and fear, because to be spiritually aligned means that scarcity and fear is a human concept. It has no space or place outside of being a human. So when we are spiritually aligned, the level of our fear and scarcity thinking goes way, way down, which means we end up creating from a much less fearful and scarcity-based space. And that's a good thing. All right, let's go through each individual pile. So each pile represents what might be transpiring for you in 2024. If you're drawn to more than one pile, that's absolutely fine. There's always some message that will find you. Whenever I ask for these channelings, I always ask that these messages reach those people who are exactly meant to be reached. And if you are listening to this, if you are here, then chances are there is a message in there for you. You may not be able to logically grasp it at first, but just let the energy go through you. These channelings are encoded with frequency, with higher frequencies, what I'm being asked to say, and that frequency goes into your etheric and emotional body. So if you get certain chills or tweaks or twitches, or even if you get emotional, you can bet that this energy is reaching you on a much deeper level. On the other hand, if you get revolted by it, then I would say this is not for you, or look at what is causing this resistance to come up. And you'll feel it likely around in your chest. It could be resistance because you're fearful. It could be so many different things. It does not mean that this is not a message for you if you are resisting, but there is a reason why you are resisting. And anytime we look at the reasons why we are resisting, we always learn something different, okay? So be guided by your own intuition, and be guided by your body. Your body knows. Your body is an extraordinarily powerful tool, and it's extremely intelligent, and it wants to look after you. Your body wants to look after you. Even though you are looking after your body, you have a relationship with your body. So your body will alarm you if something is not for you. In fact, you probably know what that is. It's usually called a gut feeling or intuition. So if any of this is not meant for you as a stop sign, don't listen, your body will tell you, okay? Aside from that, just be open, see what happens. Don't believe a word that comes out of my mouth. Just be open to go, that's interesting. Let's see. And then see what happens, okay? Here, I would love for you to click the notification button to subscribe, to help this channel grow, because the more people see this information, the more people can allow themselves to experience their greatness. And when we all allow ourselves to embody our greatness, we will effectively create more greatness in the world. Who doesn't want that? And the algorithm works in such a way on YouTube that I have no idea, but I know it depends on how many people click like, how many people comment, how many people share, how many people subscribe. So if you can do any of those things or all of those things, I would be forever grateful, including my team, because we just want this information to go out there. So thank you again so much. All right, pile number one. If you were drawn to this pile, let's see what we have. So the first card represents where you are. So pile number one, what are some of your greatest fears? What is your biggest fear? What is your biggest fear? I'm being asked to talk about the throat. Is one of your biggest fears speaking out? Is one of your biggest fears public speaking? By the way, that's a very common fear. Okay. In fact, public speaking is first before dying. So this tells you how terrified people are of speaking out. Pile number 1, are you afraid of speaking out? Is speaking out part of your theme in this life? If that's the case for you, you will know, because likely you will have a tendency with speaking out your truth, speaking your voice, numbing your voice, or being very, what's the word, frivolent with your voice. It's like you need to almost pull back. And I don't know why I want to say it. I don't feel it's for most of you, but it could be a tendency of just talking too much, over taking control with your voice for most of you. So there is an imbalance in the throat chakra. Okay, it doesn't mean it's good or bad. It just means that there is a certain level of imbalance. When we have imbalance in any area of the bodies, particularly the energy centers, which we Westerners call chakras, it will often affect the field within this physical body. So it will often affect your throat. If you are suffering with hoarseness, for example, and I'm not a doctor, I don't diagnose anything, but if you are experiencing hoarseness, for example, that could be part of you having challenges with your throat chakra. Okay, so here's what I want to say. It's not so much that you are afraid of speaking out. It feels more like you're afraid to say certain something. Because you're likely talking, going to work, going to school, you're having family, you're having conversations, right? You're using your throat every day. So what is the thing that you are having difficulty in terms of saying? What are you afraid of? What specifically are you afraid of? I'm afraid to be myself. Okay, why? Why are you afraid to be yourself? Because I'm afraid I'm not going to be accepted. All right. That's valid. That's very real. Not acceptance or being in non-acceptance is it's not a pleasant place. Here's the problem. I have a funny suspicion that you have learned how to not accept yourself. In other words, you were in acceptance of yourself, but throughout your life and throughout all your experiences, you slowly but surely resisted aspects of you or denied aspects of you in order to please other people. Okay? Perhaps you're afraid to say what you need or what you want because you're afraid that other people are going to dismiss you, that perhaps your voice is what you need is not important. Let me say this to you. If your needs are not being met, you're not going to be happy. But I want to be very clear. This is not about other people meeting your needs. This is about you learning how to meet your own emotional needs. Does that mean that you're supposed to live on the island and not have anyone around you? No, then you wouldn't learn very much about yourself. Our best ways of learning is through relationships. Okay, so pile number 1. You feel like you have a small voice, or you consider yourself to be small voice. What I want to say is the bigness of you cannot be explained to you because you have no capability as a human being to seeing your bigness. Okay? However, you are focusing on your smallness. The question is why? None of us want to feel small. I know you don't want to feel small. Feeling small is not a great thing. Sometimes we want to feel small because it actually makes us feel safe. Maybe there is a safety issue indicated. So this is where you're at now. Okay, this is for 2024. This is likely where you're sitting right now. It's important for you to address this conflict inside of you. Why? Well, it's interesting because what I'm seeing is that you are here to be in front somehow, in front of a group. And having a powerful voice is very important because people need to hear you. It's like you have direction to give to people. But if you're speaking very meek and no one can hear you, then people can't hear you. This is both actual and figuratively speaking. Your voice is not too small. You are too small for your voice right now. It's like your concept of yourself is so small that it cannot fully house your true voice. It's almost like you need to let go of your smallness in order to fully reclaim your voice. Now, your voice is your power. You have a lot to share. I'm seeing the proverbial changing of glasses. You need to realize how you see yourself right now and ask yourself, do I want to continue to see myself this way? And this requires you to do some inner work. Now, I, as Joanna, am all about shadow work. I actually, in a funny way, call myself the Queen of Shadows. Not because I focus on shadows, but because I absolutely love transforming shadows into light. It's I can get off on it. That's how much I love it. But it is hard work. Why is it hard? They're saying define why it's hard. It's hard for one reason. We are not used to facing ourselves. We are used to running away from ourselves. So we fear. It's hard because we fear facing ourselves. Why do we fear facing ourselves? Because we automatically assume it's something bad. We automatically assume it's something bad. There's no good or bad. It simply is. But if we are resisting this isness, then we are not being truly ourselves. So pile number one, you often have derogatory comments about yourself, whether it's to others or to yourself. You need to look at that. Why do you do that? Do you feel you need improvement? Okay. In what sense? Well, I'm not good enough. For what? What are you not good enough for? Okay. I just heard, Jesus already loves you. I'm not a religious person. This was probably a bit of a humorous way of saying, listen, if you're good enough to be loved by, Jesus or God, which by the way is one and the same, then you are good enough, which means you are telling yourself stories. Are these the stories you still want to tell yourself? Because based on the stories you tell yourself, you will live your life. And I hear you saying, I don't want to do this anymore. Good. Decide what that is. What is it that you don't want to do anymore? What is that? Look at it. What is it that I don't want to do anymore? Okay. You don't want to be unhappy. Perfect. What makes you feel unhappy? Because in order for you to know that you're unhappy, you must have felt happiness before. Otherwise, you wouldn't know any difference. Which means if you felt it before, you can feel it again. So why is it not happening now? What's standing in the way? This communication is not for the purpose of pointing fingers. This is about helping you understand who you are. Challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to be more of who you really are, not who you are pretending. And I don't mean pretending because you're being a devious person. Pretending because you don't know any different, because you don't know any better. Example, most of your growing up, you were made to feel small. Of course you will learn to feel small. That's what your experience said. But you're not small at all. So that means if you are still feeling small, but you are not small, because we just said you are not small, which you choose not to believe, that's fine. But if you are not experiencing your bigness, then that means you are still holding on to smallness. Why? How does it serve you? The ego will say it doesn't serve me. The answer is, of course it does. Otherwise, you will be participating in this story. It serves you somehow. For one, it tells you who you are because you learn how to identify with your smallness. Anything you identify with, you will become. Okay? Where are we going? Now, this is interesting. There's a symbol of luck here. L-U-C-K. I want to say trusting yourself. This is where you're going. However, this is not where you are right now. Well, obviously, because that's where you're going. So many of you don't trust yourselves. And trust is a big deal. I, as Joanna, know a little bit about that, and I'm being facetious. I know a lot about it. From a very young age, I was taught how to not trust myself, literally speaking. I was taught how to not trust myself, not how to trust, how to not trust myself. Everything I experienced and shared was met with, no, that's not true. It's not how you say. No, Joanna, that doesn't hurt. I've learned to completely distrust myself. I became an expert on it. So part of my experience is to learn how to trust myself. Not an easy thing. But because this is coming up for you, I feel like you are getting there. It's just going to take some time. Learning how to trust yourself. When you've learned to distrust yourself is learning how to walk and then learning how to run and then becoming a runner champion. You cannot be a champion without practicing something. So learning how to trust is about practicing trusting your intuition. You are moving more towards practicing your own intuition or trusting your own intuition. What's going to get you there? Patience. The old good patience. But this really represents emotional stability. Okay? Focusing on your emotions, especially the emotions that keep you small, is going to be very important in 2024. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Joanna, it's important anytime, but particularly in 2024, because there feels to be like an upliftment in energy. Collectively, it's like a 2024 feels elevated, which means we can either stay in the past or we can move higher. We can choose to stay, but we will experience a lot of resistance. Okay, so pile number one, be mindful that resistance may come up for you, but I would tune into this resistance. Why are we resisting? Why are you resisting? Exactly are you resisting? Because your soul wants you to grow. That's why you're here, okay? Your body, physicality likes to stay status quo because it's comfortable. It doesn't like to constantly move up. It's inconvenient, okay? What they're saying to me is that you tend to put a lot of pressure on yourself. Why do you put so much pressure on yourself? If that's the case for you, why do you put so much pressure on yourself? What's this pressure about? Well, I need to be better, okay? Better for what? Identify. Literally expand your knowledge, your inner awareness on the subject of what makes you you as a concept, okay? You are basically a bag of concepts thrown together and you call it an identity, okay? Or something along those lines. Be mindful of those aspects of your identity that are holding you back, because those aspects of you are holding you back from life, okay? Fear will hold you back. However, little fear is very important. It's like a little bit of salt and pepper on your steak, if that's what you're into. Do not look at getting rid of fear. Look at limiting how much fear has control over you. And looks like for the most part, humanity right now, fear has control over humanity. Well, fear is a big motivator, isn't it? Fear is a big motivator, but so it's love. And the thing is that fear is limiting, love is completely boundless. So identify the parts of you that live in fear and shed some light as to why. And do your best to work with it and to accept it, to make it be a part of you, because all those aspects of you that are fearful, all they want and need is for you to accept them. Remember, we talked about wholeness at the very beginning. So pile one, looks like 2024 will be an opportunity for you to experience and regain some of that wholeness that you've lost when you were very young. Okay. Yes, proceed, be seen, push through. Serious star blessings. Pile number one, likely you are from the stars. Okay. I also want to say you are from a sister galaxy system, okay? From from a different galaxy system, but from a sister galaxy system. Okay, maybe you're from Sirius. Okay. Yes, proceed, be seen, push through. When I talked earlier about you speaking your truth, it's really about you allowing yourself to be seen. Okay. And I hear alarm bells going, and I'm going, okay, what's the message? And the message is, why is it taking you so long? What's the procrastination? Why is it taking you so long to be seen? Now, as far as the universe is concerned, you have all the time in the world. But in with respect to your 3D life, it's taking you a while to be seen truly for who you are because you're afraid. And perhaps the smallness I was talking about is you holding on to that smallness because it keeps you safe. Well, because you're listening to this, you are here in this world at this particular time in order to help Gaia raise her vibration, and you help humanity raise to higher consciousness. You cannot do that from not being seen. You cannot do that from not seeing yourself. Because when you see yourself fully is when you assist others to see themselves fully, and that's where freedom comes from. So that is your message for 2024. Pretty powerful. All right, pile number 2. Let's see where you're at moving to 2024 and what themes you are likely to experience. This is where you are at right now. So we have the card of leap of faith, and it's in resistance, and we have energy transmission, and it's also in resistance. So I'm just going to share with you what I get from these messages. Again, very similar to pile number 1. Pile number 2, you don't trust yourself very well. Why don't you trust yourself? Why doesn't pile 2 trust themselves? It's like you don't know how to trust yourself. That's really interesting. But here's the thing. You do know how. You absolutely do know how. You trust yourself all the time. When you get into your car and turn on the engine, do you think about every single thing that you do in order for you to drive the car? No, it's almost all of it is coming from your unconscious. And you trust yourself to drive the car. You don't agonize every time you go to the car. Oh my God, can I trust myself to drive the car? No, you just trust to drive your car, period. Why? Because you've learned how to trust it. At first, when you sat in the car, you didn't know what you were doing. So it took every effort and every awareness for you to figure out what's going on. But the more you practiced it, the more all the same movements and the same habits just became part of your unconscious, and you decided to trust that. What I'm trying to say is this. Of course you know how to trust yourself. You do it all the time. Maybe you're just trusting the wrong things. Now, what does it mean to trust the wrong thing? Well, let's look at what is wrong. What does the wrong thing mean? Well, it could be many things, but it may mean that something is wrong for you. Why would we trust something that is wrong for you? If something is wrong for you, then you don't want it. Why do you trust in something you don't want? And they're saying, explain further. Okay, I'm going to give a very drastic example. I want a lot of money, or I don't want to be poor. But then you agonize about being poor. You have constant thoughts about being poor. If you didn't believe about being poor, you wouldn't have thoughts about it. You would have thoughts about being abundant. So focusing on the very thing you don't want is trying to create for ourselves backwards. You are creating pile number 2 from scarcity space, which is not unlike most human beings. The question is why? You would never choose to create from scarcity space, but nonetheless, it feels like you are doing it. So in 2024, you are likely looking at your scarcity thinking, your scarcity beliefs. And those are, generally speaking, borrowed from other people. Those are ancestral, okay? In this lifetime, You are unlocking doors to higher knowledge, and this higher knowledge is going to allow you to leave the past behind you. Okay? That is, it just went through me. I already forgot what I said. So whatever I just said, it feels very good. Also, energy transmission, and it's showing to me in reverse. I want to say you're not as open as you think you are. And that's not a dig. It's not a diss. Oftentimes we're saying, I'm open. Why isn't this happening? I'm open, but nothing is happening. And they say, when you're open, it's going to happen. Well, I'm open. Why is nothing happening? Maybe you're not as open as you think. Maybe you think you are open, but you are actually not open. You don't feel open. You are not in a space of allowing. Again, this is very typical with law of attraction. I'm going to use the idea of money or something that everyone can understand. Money, relationship, good things we want in our life. If I want to be in a loving relationship, but my idea of relationships is one of not loving, toxic, emotionally abusive, then that becomes the blueprint for my relationship. Now, do I think about that blueprint? No, because it's inside of me. It's something I don't pay attention to. It comes from my past experiences. It's not part of me, but I don't pay attention to it. And of course, that's not what I want, but that's what I believe, because that is the blueprint. Okay? So since the universe helps us create from the space of our blueprint or our belief systems, then you may be saying to yourself, I want a loving relationship, but because you don't believe it, you're not going to experience it. So how does that connect to what I said earlier? Basically, you're focusing on creating this relationship, but your idea of relationship is actually not what you want. That's not what you want. So if relationship to you represents disharmony, toxicity, abuse, then you saying, I want a relationship, that's what I want. Actually, that's not what you want. In order for you to experience that which you consciously and logically want, you have to deal with the almost illogical equation. Why illogical? Because obviously you wouldn't want to experience abusive relationships. But if you believe in that, that is all the universe can put in front of you, because that's what you'll accept. If something outside of that comes to your life, you're going to reject it. You're going to sabotage it. You know exactly how this works. We've done it many, many, many times before. If you manage to attract a beautiful mate to you, you're going to mess it up unless you do some inner digging or inner healing. So for you, pile number 2, it feels like relational constructs are being magnified. In other words, you are looking at your blueprints around the idea of relationships. For example, maybe you've learned that you can't trust in a relationship. And if you trust that you can't trust, that's likely what you'll end up experiencing. Okay? Because this is whatever you say is, must be. Okay. Where are you going? Now, this is very interesting because this represents the idea of tell me why. Not why is this happening? Why am I in this experience? This is about taking responsibility for your part of the experience. How do you partake in your experiences? Example, if you are in a relationship that you don't want to be in, chances are you're not tied to the table. At least I'm hoping you're not. Therefore, if you are choosing to participate in that relationship, then that is your part of creating that relationship. You could choose not to. I'm not saying it would be easy. I'm not saying it wouldn't be challenging. I'm just saying you could. That's the power you have. So you may be saying to yourself, I don't have any other choice. Yes, you absolutely have other choices. The thing is that you are terrified of these other choices, or you believe there are no other choices. Absolutely correct. If you believe that there are no other choices, there will not be any choices, because you won't make them. You won't make them. There's choices all around. And no, it's not comfortable unhooking from something that is very familiar. Why? Because that means that you have to enter the unfamiliar. And sometimes the familiar, even though it's bad, feels more comfortable than the unfamiliar, which could be tenfold or 100-fold better. So we stay in the status quo. Okay? If you are in a relationship, for example, and it is not what you want, then you have to find the reasons behind your co-creation in it. Okay? And take responsibility for your part. Whether it's a relationship at work, whether it's a relationship with a romantic partner, it's you learning what is your part in co-creating any given experience that you are in. Okay, let's say you're driving somewhere and there's a fender bender, and you're like, well, how did I create that? Well, you took that path. You could have taken a different path, and it just happens that by taking that path, this experience happened to be there. So you are absolutely part of this co-creation. You're just not consciously thinking about it that way. But you choosing this particular path where there was going to be an experience, that was the choice. You see what I'm saying? This is deep stuff, but you are here for deep stuff, so I'm sure that most of you will understand exactly what's being said. So looking at reasons why things are the way they are, not from blame, but from a higher perspective and from higher understanding. The purpose of us being here as humans is to help humanity understand itself from higher perspectives, okay? Because there's always higher perspectives. Unless you recognize your current perspective, and unless you see higher perspectives, you cannot help others see higher perspective, is because you will not know how. So in 2024, likely this is about you seeing higher perspectives and changing your outlook on life because you're seeing from a higher perspective. It's like you're seeing from a different color glasses. Everything is the same but different. Everything is the same but different, both at the same time. Okay? What is what gets you there? Heightened intuition. In fact, you are making choices and decisions, and there's a door that's waiting for you to be open. This door is highlighted, as you can see, and to me it represents there's light coming through, but the door is closed right now. And whether you're oblivious to this door or intuitively know there is this other door, you're not focusing on the door, you're focusing on your intuition. So this is a time of a heightened intuition for you, pile number 2. I believe that's the case for most people who are more tuned in and sensitive to energy. Not better, but just more tuned in and sensitivity. But so if you are that person, likely which you are, this is heightened level of intuition, okay? Intuition is your deciding factor. It's like you are using intuition to decide some really important choices in your life, because you're going to be making, of course you'll be making decisions, but I'm talking like bigger decisions. We're talking like moves, changes in relationships, changes in job status, changes in marital status. Like these are the big pillars of human life. You are making some decisions, and those also represent endings, but you're finalizing. Again, from a higher perspective, by closing our own cycles, by releasing our old karma, which is often what is closing of a cycle means to me as Joanna, according to my team. When we let go of certain karma, we are letting go of certain behaviors. And those behaviors, we affect the world that we create. So when we let go of our past karma, when we heal our karma, we're effectively creating more healing in the world. So it makes sense to me that you would be looking at endings and karmic healing, because that's what you're here to do. You're here to help humanity heal its past. But again, healing the past doesn't happen in the past. It happens in the moment. It happens in the now. It happens within, which means time to tune in. You are tuning in, pile number 2, probably a lot more than ever before. And you are becoming still, or learning how to become more still. Remember, everything is in the present. There is no past. There is no future. Everything is in the moment. 5 minutes from now, you will be also in the moment. Okay, now, for some humans, that's a very hard thing to grasp. It was for me as Joanna at the very beginning, but now I understand it. I totally get it. I see it. Okay, everything is in the moment. Everything, that's why they say everything happens in the now. The past, the future, everything is in the moment. But because we live in a linear construct with future and past and with polarities, this is how we think. That's our human mind is designed, how our logic is functions. It's in linear terms. Okay. So lots of healing for you, pile number 2. And I just looked at the clock. It was 15:15. Okay, those are some powerful messages. It'll be interesting to see what the zodiac signs for 2024 say for you, because likely it's going to be a repeated message on some level. Okay, so now let's move on to pile number 3. Hello, pile number 3. Let's see what we have for you coming up for 2024 as a theme. So this is representing where you are right now. Okay. But it's coming to me in resistance. So this is, it's purely intuitive information. This is not according to the book, although it may turn out to be that way. Let's look at it this way. This represents unity, togetherness. It represents acceptance. It represents wholeness. Okay? You are not there. You're not that. Pardon me, you are not feeling that. You are not perceiving that about yourself. You do not believe that you are complete. In fact, you are likely seeking for things to complete you. If you are someone that believes that you need a partner to complete you, then you need to look at the lack space this is coming from, because you are complete. And when we look for people to complete us, we put a heavy burden on those people, because we make it their responsibility to make us feel complete. No one and nothing can do that, because the feeling comes from within. In fact, we are complete already. So, because no one can really complete you, but this is what you are seeking, then you are likely externalizing the very thing that you are needing. And of course, if you felt lonely for most of your life and you find a partner and they make you feel like you're not alone anymore, of course, of course you're going to feel less alone. But if there is something inside of you, some nugget, some fear that you will always be alone, then that belief is going to come out in your relationship. You are likely to reject certain things. You are likely to emotionally close yourself off, because you are creating the belief that you will be alone. And when we push people away, well, what we are creating is more aloneness, aren't we? So pile number 3. Are you in a habit of creating your own aloneness? Are you in a habit of saying, I don't deserve this, I don't deserve that, I must not deserve that? Are you in a habit of minimizing yourself when you put yourself out there? If you're in a habit of minimizing yourself, and they're saying, explain to them what that means. Okay, what does it mean? To minimize yourself means to make yourself smaller in any capacity, in other words, to reduce yourself in order to please other people, feel like you're going to be accepted, out of fear. There is many ways why we choose to keep ourselves small, why we minimize ourselves. Pile number 3, and this is specifically with relationships. Do you have a tendency to minimize yourself? If the answer is yes, then the question becomes why. Why do you feel the need to minimize yourself? Because it is, it's a learned behavior. It's a learned behavior. So likely someone has minimized you when you were quite young, and then you've learned to minimize yourself, or you watched somebody who was minimized or minimized themselves, and you just took it on like, oh, okay, that's how it's done. Okay, I'm going to minimize myself. Okay. They're saying, they're funny. Learn to put minimal effort to minimizing yourself. And I'm like, how do they do that? And they said, very easy. Right now, you make minimal effort to make yourself be more of you. You make minimal effort. You make a lot more effort to making yourself less. So do the opposite. Put limited effort on limiting yourself and put massive amount of effort on building yourself up. You are a beautiful being. Don't you remember that? You are here because, quote unquote, God chose you to be here on this planet Earth. You took the assignment. You said, yes, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, I'm up for the job. I'm going to help humanity heal. All right, let's do it. Well, if you minimize yourself, you're making yourself small. That means people can't see you. If no one sees you, what good are you with all the information that you have? You can't share it. And in order to help humanity heal, or Mother Earth heal, you need to be able to share what you came here with, which is a construct of unity, selflessness, believing in yourself. You are likely feeling the opposite of those. Why? Because that's what you are here to learn from. If you are feeling not at oneness, but at odds, in order for you to experience oneness, you have to deal with your at oddness. Once you know how to heal the at oddness, you share that information with others and say, this is how you heal yourself. Otherwise, you can't do it because you don't know how. You haven't practiced it. You will not feel like you're an expert. You're here to be an expert on what is very natural to you. You know all of this. They're saying to me, this is only a reminder. Knock, knock. Are you there? Are you listening? Stop hiding. We're waiting for you. How long is it going to take for you to feel comfortable with being you? How much time would you like? What does it mean for you to feel comfortable being with you? What does that mean? And by the way, you have all the time in the world. If you don't get to that in this lifetime, there's always another lifetime. But I, as Joanna, would say this to you. There ain't any freaking way I'm doing this all over again. Thank you very much. I want to get it now. Thank you. Please give me extra dose so that I make sure I never have to repeat this again. That's what I would do. But I am not you. You're not me. And you're not supposed to do anything other than the way you want to do it. The question is, how do you want to do it? Do you want to be the person you are meant to be? You are that person right now. Okay? You don't need any qualifications or any studies or anything else for you to be the person you are trying to be. What you need to do, though, is you need to resolve the inner conflict that does not allow you to embody that person right now. You're that now. You're that now. It is your belief system that makes you believe and think and see yourself as otherwise. That is not the truth. So, question is, what do you want to be in the experience of? Your bigness or your smallness? Now, I want to be very clear that when I talk about bigness, I'm not talking about overinflated ego, because that's insecurity, that's scarcity. I'm talking in terms of empowerment, being in embodiment of your divine power, being in unity with that part of you, because you are the part of the divine. You're here to learn that, not learn, remember, but you're here to learn that. And you're here to share that with others. That's how you will help elevate humanity's consciousness, to help humanity rediscover their divinity. Now, you are that now. You are the divine being right now. If you don't feel it, then it's because your belief system is standing in the way. Let's look at it. What is it going to take for you to see yourself for who you are, not who you are trying to be? What are you trying to be? This and that. Okay, why? You always have a reason. Well, I'm trying to be better at that. Why? Well, because it's going to make me feel better about myself. No. Feel better about yourself right now and then do that thing and see what happens. You'll be amazed. Don't seek out anything you want from the future or from outside of you. Always find it within you first, vibrationally speaking. Hook into that energy, which means feel it, law of attraction, and then watch what happens. Because that means you giving your energy to that right now, not somewhere in the future. That there's no future. There's only now. Whenever you are in the moment, ask yourself this question: who am I being and who am I choosing to be instead? If you love where you are being and who you are being, then choose that. Keep choosing it. But if you are being someone who lives in the concept of scarcity, then likely you don't want to be that. Then choose what you want. Choose your desired outcome. Choose your destination, and then ask yourself, how can I move closer towards that destination? First and foremost, accept yourself as you are right now, period. Not when you get better, not when you get slimmer, not when you get Botox, not when you get whatever. I'm throwing funny things in. Not then, now. Not when you lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds, now. When you accept yourself now, as you are right now, and then you go after your goals, you'll be amazed at what happens. Why? Because you will not be dealing with resistance. You are in resistance of yourself, darling. Why? What are you so objecting about yourself? Why? Who taught you so? It's a better question. Who taught you to not believe in yourself? Was it you? How did you learn that? How did you learn not to believe in yourself? Because you're not born not believing in yourself. When you're born, you're fully on. You're completely tapped in. You don't care about this world. You just want to eat and drink and poop because that's what your body physicality needs. But you're in sleep all the time. You're vibing. You're like flying around. Woohoo! And then you get older and you become more and more identified with your body, and that's where it goes. Okay. I'm not saying ditch your body. I'm not saying ditch your identity. You need it. It's a rich source of experience. Rich source for your experience, because without your identity, you wouldn't have your unique experience. But at least do it from a space of completeness and wholeness rather than lack and insecurity. That's not what the world needs more of. The world needs more of the other kind. You're a spirit, you know that already. Your spirit is ginormous, enormous. The only reason why you are not in your spirit right now, well, some of you is, but the only reason why you're not identifying yourself wholly and only as a spirit is because you have a body. And the ego identifies with the body. Okay, so you've learned to identify with the body, but you are more than just the body. Pay focus and attention to your body, but don't let the body your world. Don't let the body become your world. Don't let the body become your world. Yes, don't make it the only focus of your attention. You have other bodies. You have an emotional body. You have mental body. You have obviously physical body. You have a spiritual body. You have. Pay attention to those, because those bodies have a lot of information. Your emotional body gives you rich information in terms of what's going on. Your mental body tells you where you are. Your spiritual body has access to information your logical mind can't even dream of. If you only identify yourself as a physical body, you're losing in all that extra amazing knowledge and awareness. You want to be more, not less. Don't make yourself smaller than you are. Unless you choose to have that experience, in which case, more power to you. Do it powerfully. Do it consciously. Make it a conscious choice. You say to yourself, I decide to keep playing small. Thank you very much. Go for it. Believe it. See what happens. Here's the thing. You don't have to see what happens because you already know. You've done it before. Maybe you want a different flavor. Victory and success. If this isn't a ostentatious message, ostentatious? I don't even know if that's the word. Then I don't know what is. But it's appropriate. The way you want to think of yourself is that you are a success already. You're a success at everything that you do. In fact, you're a success right now. If you want to understand how powerfully successful you are already, all you have to do is look at your blueprint and realize how you have created everything according to your blueprint, and it's what your experience is right now. You are a massive success. The only thing is that you are not realizing what space you are creating from. So you are successfully creating from a small place. Why on earth would you want to create from a small place when you can create from a much larger space? Wouldn't you want more room to play? But small is safe. Yes, it can be, but it's confound. It's small. You're not here to be small. You're not here to be small. Okay? You're also not here to outrun yourself. Stop running away. Why are you running away? What are you running away from? What's chasing you? Because chances are, whatever is chasing you is inside of you. So wherever you go, there it is. You cannot outrun yourself. You can face yourself, and then you can stop running. Pile number 3, 2024 is about facing yourself and stop running away. Maybe you stop running away from your problems. Maybe stop running away from conflicts. What makes you unhappy? Face it. Wow, powerful themes. My goodness. Let me know how this resonates with you. It may actually not resonate with you for a while because this is a 2024 sneak peek. But I feel the general message pretty much showcased the direction we're going. It's kind of sort of what's happening right now. The individual messages are a little bit more focused. So let me know how this resonates with you. Thank you so much for being here. I would love for you to click the notification button, to subscribe, to help this channel grow, because the more people see this information, the more people can allow themselves to experience their greatness. And when we all allow ourselves to embody our greatness, we will effectively create more greatness in the world. Who doesn't want that? And the algorithm works in such a way on YouTube that I have no idea, but I know it depends on how many people click like, how many people comment, how many people share, how many people subscribe. So if you can do any of those things or all of those things, I would be forever grateful, including my team, because we just want this information to go out there. So thank you again so much. I wish you a wonderful week, and see you soon again. Bye-bye.